morning, guys. How are you doing? Happy Sunday. It is Charlotte Cornegay coming live to you with another Forever Friends Academy episode. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a good night. Hopefully, I can get some of you guys on with me. Let me introduce myself just in case there's someone new. My name is Charlotte Cornegay. I'm an author, recording artist, and creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy. And this is my show, Forever Friends Academy, where we talk about all relationship topics. And my aim is to help people love to their fullest capacity and develop relationships that last a lifetime. And so hopefully, if you, I don't know, cross my corner of the internet, I hope that you like, what you hear tonight. And if you do, definitely like and subscribe and come back again and again and again. All right. So if you want to check out any of my music on the stage, I go by Charlotte K. That's with an S. Definitely Google my name or go on your, music platform of your choice to peruse my music catalog. So, all right. So enough about me. I would like to definitely dive into tonight's episode so we can dive right into it. I have a question, which is like an icebreaker question. At least I think it is. And I want to throw that out to you guys just in case if there's anybody on tonight with me. I'm going to throw that out, and then we will dive into what the main topic of tonight is. So the icebreaker question is, if you could go, I'll put it like this. If you could go back in time, any part of history, and you can sit down with three people, who are the people that you would choose and why? Why would you choose to sit down and speak to them? So that's the icebreaker question for tonight. So I'll say it again. Just in case I have you guys on with me and see what your answers are. So the icebreaker question is, if you can bring back anyone throughout history, and really not just anyone, three people, inviting three people to your table to have a conversation, anyone in history, who are your top three people that you are wanting to sit down with and I guess have a conversation? And if you can tell me why would you pick those three people? What would you want to learn from them? I don't know if it's something about their essence that you liked. Yeah, who would be the top three people that you would invite to your table to want to conversate with? So that's the icebreaker question for tonight. And then I'll put out the quote in the main topic for tonight. So let me know what your thoughts are. I see somebody in the building. Is it M? I'm not even going to try. I think it's a natural. Did I say that right? I'm so sorry. I don't want to butcher your name. I think it's a natural man. 7? Okay, I think I got it right. I don't know. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if I did. But welcome. Thank you for popping in. If you just come in, I just started with an icebreaker question. Anyone new just coming into the show? My icebreaker question for tonight is, you can bring back any three people in history, and maybe, well, if they're currently living right now, you don't have to bring them back, right? But you can sit down with any three people throughout history. Who would you pick and why? Right? Why would you want to, if they are people who have already passed and gone, why would you want to bring them back and sit down and talk to them? Is it something that you want to learn from them, etc.? And if they're currently living, still let me know why they would be a part of your top three people that you would want to have a discussion or a conversation with. So that is the icebreaker question. I will throw out my answer just in case I'm waiting for those of you who might be typing to give me your answer. So my three people, and it's hard when you think about all the people throughout history. At least it was for me. But number one is hands down. I would choose this person over and over again. So my first person is Jesus Christ. Definitely one, because I'm a believer in Christ. So definitely I would wholeheartedly love to sit and learn and just the godly principles, and then just to be around the essence of who Christ is. So definitely that was my number one. And I think that definitely would remain number one for me. Number two was hard. I and I still have it as a tie. I don't know if that's cheating, but I have it as a tie. My two people, my number two, yeah, there's two people. Okay, I can't break the tie. All right, so I thought of Mother Teresa and the Queen of Sheba. And the reason why I would love Mother Teresa, I just absolutely love. Um, I just love her heart. I love her. I've learned so many things from either just reading quotes, from her and just her heart for humanity. So definitely just taking on that type of essence from her, and definitely just her wisdom. Definitely a woman who is laced with godly wisdom. And then the second one, oh, well, they kind of tied. So it was her and the Queen of Sheba. And I thought of the Queen of Sheba because, again, just the wisdom. She is highlighted in the Bible for meaning. The one that I'm thinking about right now is when she goes and meets with Solomon, King Solomon. So anyway, both of them for the essence, but definitely Mother Teresa because of the wisdom and the how much of a reflection of God's love and kindness that I believe she was in the world. So just trying to take that type of essence, definitely, I would love to sit down with her. And then I thought of somebody in the arts, and I thought of Michael Jackson. Only because, well, I think he's a very interesting person I believe he's an interesting person, but I also would want to sit down with him because I think he just the fact that I wish I could have gone to a concert of his, but when you look back and you see the videos and people are like falling out and fainting, and I'm like, he's not in a type of like where you would see that like in a gospel music, where it's not so forward where he was like a gospel artist where you would see something like that going on. So to me, I would just want to like dive into his mind. Definitely his work ethic was insane. So I definitely would want to glean from that. But those would be my three people. Beautiful Eliana, how are you? Oh my gosh. How are you? So you came in on my icebreaker question. Feel free if you want to answer, and feel free not to if you don't. But I asked everyone who's on right now if they could speak to have invite three people from history, and I mean they could be currently living right now, so but all any era of life, you can bring three people at your table. Who are you inviting to have a conversation with or to be around, and why, if you want to answer that? So I have an answer from a natural man. He says Prophet Muhammad. Okay, peace be unto him. All right. And he said my grandmother. Oh, when you said that, you reminded me of my grandmother. God bless her soul. Wow. Yeah. Right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's hard when you think about it because there's so many people that came across my mind, and I'm just like, ah. But those would be the three people for me. I think Jesus Christ. It's hard for me to break that tie, but if I had to break it, like if I had to, I probably would pick Mother Teresa over Queen of Sheba, because both of them, I would want to talk to because of their wisdom. But because Mother Teresa, like I said, I think she just was the outward expression of God's kindness and love, and humanity, especially her mission and her vision and passion for children. So if I have to break the tie, I would pick Mother Teresa over Queen Sheba. And then Michael Jackson, just because I think he's a creative genius. And I haven't seen musical artists have that type of impact where people are like, almost like if he's like an angel and then they're like fainting, in the audience. That is like, to me, amazing, especially if it's not in a context of like, let's say like a spiritual religious. It's just literally what God put. I mean, of course, all gifts come from God the Father. So that is what's oozing out of him as he's performing. But what I'm saying, it's not like a very outward where he's saying this is what I'm performing. He's just coming up with his own creativity and having that impact on people. So those are my three people. So feel free, let me know, anyone who's popping in. Hey, beautiful neck R78, how are you? So I just put out a icebreaker question. I'm just gonna throw it out one more time, and then we're gonna get into tonight's main topic. If you can invite three people any era in our history, our time, who would those three people be, and why would you want to have a conversation with them? Would it be something that you want to learn from them? Is there something about who they were or their essence that you would want to kind of like glean from or take on? So let me know if you want to. No obligation at all. So tonight we are going to talk about, actually, the quote that I have for tonight is from Mother Teresa, but the whole topic tonight is love has no regrets. And so I want to read the quote to you guys. Those who usually come in with me, I usually do a question and a quote. So tonight's quote goes like this from Mother Teresa, and I'm going to say it. And as per usual, you guys let me know if you think that this is a good quote to, establish our relationships and would be useful to help people develop, healthy, loving, and lasting relationships. So the quote goes like this: don't regret a day in your life. God knows what he's doing. Good days give happiness. Bad days give experiences. Worst days give lessons, and best days give memories. All right, so that's from Mother Teresa again. I'll say it one more time. And as I stated before, let me know. Well, first of all, do you think it's a truthful statement? Do you agree with it? And do you think it is a good mindset for people to kind of take on as they are developing their relationship? So the quote, again, is from Mother Teresa, and it goes like that. It goes like this, not that. Don't regret a day in your life. God knows what he is doing. Good days give happiness. Bad days give experiences. Worst days give lessons. And best days give memories. That's from Mother Teresa. I absolutely love it. You guys know, because I just said that I would like to sit down with Mother Teresa. But I think more, other outside of that, I just think it's truthful. And I know definitely it's that type of mindset has been helpful for me to be able to navigate, the days where you don't feel like you, and let me not say you, I'll speak for me, when the choice that I made or the action that I took, I don't feel like it might have had like the most maximum benefit, or the effect that I wanted it to have, or even if you're trying to even have good intentions in the actions but maybe it, offended or hurt someone along the way. So all those, things that come up, definitely I have to have like a process in my mind where I'm reflecting like, okay, what could I have done better, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely knowing that you navigate and move on, and that you can always extract something from it helps to not get stuck in like a loop hole or cyclical thoughts of being stagnant and thinking about whatever the action that you did do or thing that you did say, or how someone responded to it. It helps you not stay in a stagnant mental type of loop. So you guys let me know if you think that is truthful, and let me know if anyone wants to on here, if there is something that you do or you have realized also that helps you not, kind of like live in regret, because I think it is very hard and it is very challenging and difficult for people to be able to move on, especially if if they, whatever their decision or their choice was, had a rippling effects, and affected, of course, more than them beyond. So they weren't the one that was just affected, which a lot of our decisions in life are like that. So if you're on here, I would definitely love if you want to share for the people who might be catching the replay or the people who are on now who are saying, maybe this is something I'm dealing with. And I would love to hear how other people deal with it and don't necessarily live with regret or stay there. So let me know. While I'm waiting, I'm going to read two more statements that I came across, and two of them that I kind of came up with that I used Mother Teresa's quote to kind of glean from. So it says, love in its purest form can feel like an unspoken truth. I love that. Love in its purest form can feel like an unspoken truth that transcends past mistakes or regrets. I think that is so true. Like when I think of course, hey Ajax, how are you? So good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh my gosh. He said, he knows it. He's like, what's the question for tonight, Charlotte? I love my repeat comers. I appreciate you, Antoine. So you missed the icebreaker, but I'll throw it out to you. The icebreaker question was if you can go through in time, any era in time, all the way up until current time, and you could invite anybody from history, invite them to your table, top three people, who would they be, and why would you invite them? What is it that you would want to learn from them? Maybe something about their essence, etc. So definitely, you can answer that. And tonight's topic is about love has no regrets. And the question that you came in on was me asking the participants, what is some advice that you would give to someone who feels like it's hard for them to get past either mistakes that they've made or they felt like, they didn't make the most optimal choices. What would you tell them? So that's what you came in on. And I was reading two statements that I wrote down from a quote that I presented tonight, which I'm not sure if you heard, but I'll repeat it. It's from Mother Teresa, one of my favorite people, who was the second person on my list that I would want to invite to my table. And her quote goes like this: don't regret a day in your life. God knows what He is doing. Good days give happiness. Bad days give experiences. Worst days give lessons. And best days give memories. So that is the full recap. So feel free, definitely, if you want to answer any of those or just share your thoughts on it. All right, so let me reread the statement. Love in its purest form can feel like an unspoken truth. I don't know, every time I read that, like, it just touches my soul because it's so true. That transcends past mistakes or regrets. Love has no regrets. Love is more about connection and acceptance rather than perfection and outcomes, which I absolutely love. And, we always talk about topics here that help you to develop healthy relationships. And I always say, whenever you hear relationships, a lot of people tend to go to the romantic ones, but I always love to, introduce fundamental truths and principles that will help facilitate all of the relationships that we have, starting with, the relationship with our creator, the relationship with ourself, because those are the thing, those two primary relationships really affect all the other relationships that we enter. So those two statements really hit home because I think definitely for me, my first kind of experience in feeling that type of sense of purest love is exactly what I felt or what I experienced is exactly what that statement is stating. Love in its purest form can feel like an unspoken truth, So for me, and I've told the story many times on here, And then I didn't grow up with my father because he passed away. And my mom, was kind of in and out my life and during my childhood. And so I had a moment, thank God, or an experience where I was just like feeling like it was the pivotal moment where I had a choice whether I was gonna either reproduce some of the dysfunction that I was exposed to early on, or whether I was gonna choose what I could only define or describe as love. And I just chose love. And in that moment, I could hear a little soft whisper of God's voice saying, if your mother and father was here to love you in the way that you think that would be the most optimal way, where would they get it from? And every time, I get a little choked up every time I say it because, he said it would be coming from me. And when that experience occurred, it was like that. It was like, okay, wow, if I can just let go of the form that I'm hoping to experience the love in and just hold on to the wholesomeness of just connecting to God's love, that love will be abounding in me and is already abounding and existing in me. And it really did come like an unspoken truth that was already present, but definitely now because I was paying attention to it, I was acknowledging it, I felt the power of it, that it superseded any kind of pain, any kind of disappointment, anything that I felt like I was dealing with. It just kind of, filled my being. So I love that. And I think the second statement where it says, love has no regrets, love is more about connection and acceptance rather than perfection and outcomes, is great for our relationships because, especially during this day and age, right? Modern society, we are so focused on outcomes and quick results and things like that. And unfortunately, it can have its disadvantages when it comes to developing our relationships because that same mentality we bring to our relationships, and it's not about that, right? It's not about being perfect, and it's definitely not about the outcomes. It is more about the connection and the acceptance through each stage, right, and each process. So I am going to take time because Ajax is writing, okay? So let me read some of his statement. Thank you so much, Ajax, for all of this writing you're doing. Okay, he said he would invite to his table Martin Luther King. He was definitely one I was thinking about. Malcolm X and Rosa Parks. Okay. Very nice. He said, I would like to hear from them because I would like to know what was going through their minds at that time, that they all did what they did. And did they think that the impact would be as big as it was? Yeah, right? Definitely, definitely. I mean, I am always inspired by the persistence and the endurance of just the human soul, right? And definitely talking to those three people, just the courage and the faith that it took for them to fight, right, for the justice that we deserved, up, right, to basically standing on something that they were worth dying for, right? That would definitely, of course, we are living the benefits of it. So really good choices. Great. He also wrote, hold on. Okay, he said, I've read about them and did reports on them growing up, but would like to hear from them and about their life growing up. Those three big, impactful, important people. Yeah, they are. I'm sorry. They are three big, impactful, important people in history, most definitely. And then he's answering in regards to tonight's topic. He says, what I would tell someone is to not regret anything, even with love and the people that you were with, because everything that you go through in life is for a reason. Very wise words, absolutely. And you wouldn't be where you are Very true. Very true. I would like to invite. Okay, no, I read that part already. Okay, thank you. Very good, wise advice. Antoine, I definitely, for sure, that's one thing that, I live by because it's like you think certain choices and decisions that you make, you, at least for me, I always want to try to make a decision that is going to have the most maximum benefit, or experience, or a decision that is going to either not just help me, but help others and move things forward. And so sometimes, especially if you are a person who feels like whether you have a family or maybe you're a bit, entrepreneur and have your own business and the weight of your choices because you are a steward over other people, right? Then the weight of your choices become a little, at least in my experience, you can feel like they're a little heavier. And in those times, that's when you have to remember exactly what, right? The quote from Mother Teresa said, God knows what he's doing, because I know definitely when I became a wife, became a mother, and also definitely as I ventured into coaching and coaching in this area, which is, one of the most essential and sensitive areas of people's lives. So I was very, very prudent well, I'm being nice. I was I was hesitant at least. Not, I was hesitant because I hesitated because I didn't want to, you know, affect and mess up people's lives, But it was really, thankfully, one, the evidence of the people coming into the household. It was different when I was just kind of offering it, and it was, my free space, and no one was actually having to invest in it, pay me anything. It was just out of my own good heart and nature. Then I didn't feel the weight of it, but then when it became, and I started to organize it, and it became actually a business, and I was like, oh, geez, like, Lord, can I really do this? And thankfully, my husband and God definitely gave me the inspiration and said, you can. And thankfully, the evidence of the people who were coming, whether it was me in the first initial stages doing it voluntarily, and then definitely now the clients that I have seen clients get married that literally have coached with me since the beginning of their relationships. And then, some of them asked me to be there in their wedding and matron of honor in their wedding. Like, so the receipts and the evidence is there, but even still, it's such a sensitive part of people's lives that it needs to be handled delicately, So I have to constantly, remind myself of exactly what AJ it just brought, to all of our attentions, that everything happens for a reason. And I always remind myself that, when God calls you to something, he equips you in the right way to do it with everything you need to do it. So at bottom line, right? God knows what he's doing. That's why I love that line in that quote. It's like, don't regret any day in your life because God knows what he's doing. And I'm sure many of you guys have heard people say, the question like, why do bad things happen in life and things like that? And that's why I also love in that quote where it says bad days, give you experiences, and worse days give you life lessons, like there's never anything that is done in this life where you can't extract some kind of seed of good from it, or something that you can extract to learn from it. So I am going to, I believe, oh, hey, Quasmo, how are you? I don't know if you're still in here, but thank you for popping in. And of course, Justin, how are you? To take some time to read, because Antoine is writing again. Okay, he said, when I think about past relationships, I don't regret anything. That's really good. Because I learned a lot about myself and about other people and to know what and what not to do and what not to deal with. One thing my mom told me, and she is right, if you are not married to someone, you don't have to stay, especially if you're not happy. He said, in his last relationship, it got to the point that he wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy, and I had to move, or even, oh, sorry, I'm reading it wrong, guys. I had to move on, even though I didn't want to deal with what my ex had to say. I didn't take what was said and moved on. Oh, okay. Yes, I didn't take what was said and moved on. And now, oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading it. I'm sorry, guys. I took what was said and moved on. And now I'm happy being single, and the person that God has for me will come with time. And I wish all of my exes the best. They just were not for me to be with long term wise. Yeah, absolutely. Your statement reminds me of another quote that I came by, and I don't know if this actually comes from 50 Cent. It just had his picture there, but it said basically, don't regret. Basically, same thing that he said. Don't regret any giving your love, even if you feel like the person wasn't the right person, because even the wrong person can give you the right lesson. So that's what that reminds me of. So it's very, very true. It's just difficult for a lot of people if they feel like they've invested a lot of their time and their energy to the relationship, for them to feel like it, broke apart or it failed. So that's the hard part for a lot of people. But I think, right, I think one thing that really, really does help me, is that you just know that regretting and worrying are like the same thing, to me, meaning like the process of it and the uselessness, of both those things, right? Because it's like worrying doesn't change anything, worrying about something doesn't change anything. It doesn't provide a solution. It definitely holds you in a place where there's constant inner turmoil, and definitely if you're worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet, for some, it brings about anxiety and things like that, then it's, as the Bible says, you cannot, you don't know what the future holds, right? So it makes no sense to worry. And I think with regret as well, because no matter what, even if you spent certain amount of time and invested your energy and things like that, it is what Antoine is saying. You still have an opportunity to extract whatever lessons that you have out of it. I think for me, if I could jump out of my shoes and I think about people who might be coming across this, episode and listening to this, and what I've seen also in dealing with either just talking to having regular conversations with people or dealing with clients. It's sometimes like a juggling act, or I don't know if juggling act is the right word I want to use. I think how I'll describe it is that sometimes it's trying to find the balance between not having any regrets, but yet still being able to reflect, analyze, and assess the relationships that you did keep, so that you can see, and extract, right, as you said, Antoine, the lessons that you can learn about yourself and things that or approaches that you ways that you might have approached the relationship that weren't effective or beneficial for you, being able to still look at that and not fall into a pitfall of regret. That's what I see in a lot of the, some of the people that I engage with. And sometimes it's like it can fall from one spectrum to the next, where one person, they'll be like, oh, I have no regrets, and then the way they carry is like, I'm not caring about anything, that I've done in the past. And you know by God's grace, he's got me, everything will work out fine. And they don't necessarily look at their behaviorisms or patterns or things that they're creating. And unfortunately, sometimes with that type of mentality, you can do more harm than good, and you can hurt a lot of people along the way because of that, but then still just justify it by the reasoning that, well, I'm not going to live in regret. I don't have any regrets, so I don't need to necessarily look back at anything. I think it's fun. It's coming to the understanding that God knows what he's doing, and honoring the fact, I guess, approaching, looking at whatever the relationship was, or the behaviorisms that existed within the relationship, being able to look at that from a place of saying that I'm going to extract the lesson, or from a place of honor that you were even able to experience it, that will help not, for that person not to go into a down spiral of feeling like, okay, man, I regret, oh my gosh, and feel crippled or held captive by the mistake that they feel that they made. Antoine says, okay, he said, one of the things that I learned from my last relationship is don't trust everyone and don't tell everyone your business, for sure, because you have to be careful and wise of what you say and who you say it to, because they can flip it to use it against you, and everyone does not have your best interest at heart. Very true. But even though all of that, I still don't regret it, because I had to go through it to learn and have that experience. Very true. And I will say there are some things in life, and I mean, for me, I'm a avid, and when I say avid, I'm an avid believer in learning from the lessons of your forefathers. I still am, but I definitely was very big on that in my youth. When I was younger, definitely growing up in childhood, I wanted, and it's probably for me, it's probably on a deeper level, just because I didn't have those two fundamental people like your mother and your father to show you those things. So I had a reaching out to look, towards people, to learn from them, specifically, right, older people, so that I wouldn't fall. In my, and the way that I said it in my head was that I didn't want to go through this was the prayer that and I still say it to God till this day, but this is the prayer that I said when I was younger, like, God, I don't want to go through what's unnecessary. I don't want to go through unnecessary pain. Like, I know there are some things in life that I'm not going to be able to, right, escape, because as Antoine so eloquently stated, right, there's certain things we just have to go through because we need to go through it to be able to, like, learn the lesson in a certain way. So I just wanted to put up a prayer, like a prayer, a blanket prayer to God of, okay, help me so that I don't, in my decisions or my choices, don't bring upon what I described as unnecessary pain. Now, I don't even know if that's a real thing. But if it was, whatever the most, like a GPS system, whatever the route is that has the least bumps, the less, the least traffic, hopefully not a lot of accidents on it. Can you help me and steer me to go that route? So that's how I looked at it. And I still kind of look at it today. But outside of that, there are certain things and certain experiences in life that I just think you do need to go through. And it does create the person that you are. I tell people all the time, even though I'm vulnerable and I share certain aspects of my journey. I wouldn't change it though. I wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't. And was everything, as they say, peachy keen? No, but I mean, whose journey is, right? Whose journey is this, whatever we would call this perfect journey with no disappointment, no pain, no suffering, no hurt, without blemish or spot? Whose journey is like that? No one's. So each step of the way, each process that you go through does make you the person that you are. So definitely agree 100% with you. I think one of the things that I would tell somebody who might be struggling with that right now about living in regret is really focusing on the present moment, current people that you have in your life that love you, the current experiences that you're having that, might bring you some maximum optimal, benefit or advantage or experience. Focus on those things, because it'll help you not to, look back. And I would say if you're not looking back to learn, or extract and either see how you would either do something differently or, you know, or honoring the fact that you went through the experience, then it's no need to look back, kind of like move forward, and keep moving forward until you've come to a point where you can look at it without feeling like it's going to be too much of a regret or a weight for you. So I would definitely tell someone that. And I think what else, I think what else helps me too is to know that, time is precious. To know that time is precious and that there are things that I want to do, things that I want to fulfill in this life, and you won't be able to do it if you live in the past or live in regret, because it's going to keep you, in a stagnant type of, loop in your mind and your being. So that's something that definitely helps me. It's like you have to keep going. It's like, okay, you look at it, I could have done this better, but to harp on it, no, because every day, God gives us a new opportunity, a blank, clean canvas, a clean slate, and if we lean more into the gratitude that we have that, then we can create, and design the life that we believe, is the one that we can make the most impact, the one where we can be filled with happiness, joy, and delight, and all of those, and purpose, and all of, those good things that we aspire to. But definitely don't look down. Don't look down on disappointment. Don't look down on bad days, and because it's all a part of the journey, and it's all a part of the plan, So those are some things that I would definitely tell someone, and I definitely would tell them the quote from Mother Teresa. I'll say it again because it is that good, at least to me. It is that good because I think it sums it up so nicely. Don't regret a day in your life. God knows what He is doing. Good days give happiness. Bad days give experiences. Worst days give lessons. And best days give memories. Yeah, so hold on to the good memories. Learn from the ones that you might not feel are the best moments, whether it's someone who did something to you or something that you did that you didn't feel like was the most optimal action or decision, or action. Just Just learn from them and live and rest in the unspoken truth that love transcends your mistakes. And it really does not, love has no regrets, so stay there, live there. And I think, it's easier said than done. I will not lie, because definitely it's something I definitely had to, kind of affirm and talk to myself when it came to certain things, especially, you guys, I always tell you about my journey with my, artistic talent and things like that. I definitely had a lot of disappointments there because I had to deal with my stage fright. So definitely had to, coach myself and equip myself to learn how to deal with those things and just say, keep moving, next step, train harder if it was something where you felt like you didn't hit the target in the way that you wanted to. And I think there was a post, I think was it on TikTok that I saw it? I think it was. But a gentleman was talking about, it was a short post where he was talking about this similar topic. And he was basically saying, don't ever regret that you gave someone your love, right? Like, don't ever regret that you had the capacity to be present, to fully show yourself, to be authentic. Like, that's a blessed experience in it of itself, right? Even if that person rejected it, even if that person didn't know how to nurture it, didn't know how to receive it, etc. Just the fact that you have the capacity to love and to be able to reflect that in the world despite of right what you've been through or what you've had to handle or deal with is a sign that that you have you've won already. I always say this, and I stated in the book that I wrote, 7 Stages of Loving Relationships. It's like, if you were the person who has the capacity to serve, you are not the one that is depleted. You are not the one that has lost. You're the one who's won, because you have maintained a certain heart posture and a certain positioning and been able to get your tank filled up to be able to pour out, So the person, as my husband simply says, givers always have and takers will always need. And I'll end on this note, and I'll tell you guys a conversation that I had, I believe, oh my goodness, when did I have this conversation? Probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I had a conversation with someone who was dealing with, they're entrepreneur, and they were dealing with some contracts basically. And there was one particular contract that they were dealing with where the people were just, the environment wasn't that great. They didn't have really a collaborative environment, even though they wanted to work with this person. And anyone who's been in any kind of environment, corporate environment, where you have sponsors, or stakeholders that are overseeing certain programs or projects, that they can, depending on, if they are fond of you, can, be a great facilitator to make sure that the projects and the program's vision gets fully brought to fruition. Or if they don't, and they can block it, and be kind of like a gatekeeper. So nonetheless, they were going through a situation with this company, and I told them, and hopefully you guys will get it when I say it, but I told them, I said, you are an angel, not a demon. You don't need a body to get things done. I know. And that statement might, let me explain it, right? So, biblically speaking, a demon needs a body, basically, to come in to someone to fulfill whatever task it is. Angels are sent by God and they're on assignment. So basically, that's the distinction I was making for that person, for them to remain in the mentality of who they really are. Meaning that if this program is for you, if this project is for you and God wants you to do it, there's not a person in heaven or on earth that will be able to delay, stop, block, etc. the purpose that God wants you to fulfill in this. So go in there believing that, and walking in there knowing that you're an angel, that was sent to be of service, to add value and elevate the places that you're going to, not that you need, and don't get me wrong, we all facilitate and help each other in that way. But when you have a collaborative understanding and mindset in that way, right, that you got two angels, like just imagine a relationship where you have two givers who have that type of mindset, like we're sent here to fulfill a purpose, to have a greater vision of our marriage that overflows into how we serve into our communities, and reflect God's kindness and his truth in the world, then that's a good, right? That's a good relationship, and they'll be able to make the impact, versus sometimes we'll feel like, whether it's business or sometimes in a romantic sense, you feel like, where it's like, oh my gosh, I need this person can actually, block me from experiencing this thing that, I desire to either experience or have or do. No, not for the people who, know that they're children of God. So children of God are sent places. And so when you know that, I think in knowing that, that also will help you to kind of navigate when there are moments that disappointment comes, or moments when something seems like it's delayed, or something seems like it was taken from you or blocked, etc. God knows what he's doing, right? And I always say there's no rejection, just redirection. So he's probably redirecting, your steps so that your steps are ordered in the right direction. So just wanted to say that. I probably shouldn't have said that near the end. It's not a normative statement that somebody usually says, but hopefully you understood it in the breakdown. But I'm basically saying, know who you are, trust the process and the journey, and always remember that God knows what he's doing. And if you make a mistake, if you feel like you suffered from a mishap or things like that, then you just, you lean into God, and you say your prayers, and you ask God to guide you, in the best way possible, and to improve the areas that need to be improved upon, so that you can fulfill his will and hit your target in the best way every time, if possible, but perfection is not required, just connection. So as long as you pray, help me to stay present, help me to stay connected, so that I can continue to focus on what really matters, in life, so that I can do, the best that I can in each situation. All right. So that is all, folks, for tonight. Thank you, all of you guys who popped in today. Antoine, Justin, I'm probably missing names, Quasmo, Eliana, A Natural Man, all of you guys, everyone. If I missed your name, I'm so sorry. But thank you guys. As always, I say you can be anywhere else and you decided to drop in with me. I appreciate you. If you like anything that you heard, definitely go to subscribe to my Forever Friends Academy YouTube channel, like, comment, and spread the videos if you feel like the content is valuable and you want more people to hear it. All right, until next time, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.